I would love to get your reaction just initially when you saw all the videos and photos from Lake of the Ozarks over the weekend.
Well, I'm going to turn this up a little bit. I can't hear you very well. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I had the same reaction as everyone else. We've worked so hard in our community to get where we are today, to be in the position to have a slow and gradual reopening. But everyone here in our community made a great deal of sacrifice. And what we saw this weekend was an international example of bad judgment. Many people traveled this weekend and were able to practice social distancing and not put themselves or others at risk. But what we saw here were people shoulder to shoulder in a pool, or reports of people shoulder to shoulder in a bar. And that is an exponential risk of contracting COVID-19, of transmitting COVID-19, and bringing it back to our community at the exact wrong time.
So what is this travel advisory? What does it entail?
So we're asking employers to ask an additional question tomorrow when people come to work. Were you in a crowded setting this weekend? Did you practice social distancing when you traveled? Did you travel this weekend? And if you did, if you were in a crowded place, if you were shoulder to shoulder with strangers, then you're at increased risk of bringing COVID-19 back to the community and into the workplace, and we would ask you to stay home for the next 2 weeks. And recognizing that you may not have symptoms, you may not have symptoms for several days, you may not ever have symptoms, but you could have contracted COVID-19 in this setting.
So the onus then would be on the employer to ask the question and not the
The first level of responsibility goes to the person who made a bad decision and recognizes it wasn't a good decision and wants to do the right thing moving forward, who wants to not expose their loved ones to COVID-19, wants to not expose someone with medical problems to COVID-19. And the way to fix this problem is to self-quarantine for the next couple of weeks. Employers can help people make the right decision by asking them the question. In addition to everything else, did you travel this weekend? Did you practice social distancing? Were you in a crowded setting? And if so, then you should stay home for the next 2 weeks.
You mentioned that this was at the exact wrong time. Why is timing, what role does timing play in all this?
So we're in the middle of a pandemic, and being in a crowd in the middle of a pandemic is a terrible idea. First of all, we have worked very hard to get to the place where we are. Last week, just a week ago today, we started easing some of our stay-at-home orders and reopening some businesses or allowing some businesses to reopen who have been closed. Many chose to remain closed for a while regardless. But this is a time where we're starting to ease some of our restrictions and trying to get more movement in our community and try and do it in a thoughtful and measured way. And what we saw this weekend was not thoughtful at all. It was an international example of bad judgment, and it puts our whole community at risk.
Are you preparing for or expecting an uptick in cases because of this?
Well, we're just going to have to watch and see. If the individuals who are from St. Louis or from the St. Louis region who went to the lake can make good decisions over the next 2 weeks, then the risk in our community can be mitigated. If not, then we may see an uptake in COVID-19 cases. We may see an uptick in hospital admissions, and we'll be watching. We'll watch those hospital admissions, we'll watch the testing results, and we'll see where we go over the next couple of weeks.
I was talking to a doctor earlier who said, if there is an uptick in cases and it gets bad again, we could be taking, 2 steps back and have to go back into more strict stay-at-home orders. Is that a fair warning to people? They don't take this seriously?
Well, absolutely. We have to see where we go in cases. We'll do what we need to do to protect the health and welfare of the residents of St. Louis County. We'll do what we need to do.
And is there any way to enforce this travel advisory, or is it just a recommendation for people?
Well, there's no way to know who was in a crowded setting, whether it was Lake of the Ozarks or was some other crowd that we didn't see pictures of. What we need our community and the residents of our community, the residents of St. Louis County, to accept this new responsibility, this new normal. We have to do everything possible to limit the spread of COVID-19 in our community, and that includes social distancing, staying at home with your sick, frequent hand washing, and wearing a mask in public. Wearing a mask if you can't social distance. If we accept that new normal, then we have a pathway forward. If too many people in our community don't accept this new normal, then we're going to have some real challenges.
Anything I missed that you want to add?
No, I think we need to recognize as we travel this summer and as we socialize with our friends, there's a safe way to do it, and that's with social distancing. And if we do that, then we can move forward and we have a path forward. If what we see are more events like we saw over Memorial Day with people in large crowds, people exercising bad judgment, and those individuals coming back to St. Louis County, we're going to have some real challenges, and we could take some steps backwards. We won't take those steps backwards until we see some demonstrated data that helps us make decisions, hospital admissions, testing results. But we have to recognize that our community was placed at risk, and the individuals involved need to make the right decision and help us get back on track.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a good night.
Thank you.